Let's talk about renting. Now, I tend to work more with sellers, but I have to tell you that the rents in Sacramento are so expensive. I'm just going to give you a basic figure to look at. If you paid $2,500 a month for rent, after about 3 years, you have just spent $90,000. $90,000 of your landlord's mortgage. Think about that. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a video. And please note, I'm not a lender, so I'm not going to be held liable if you hear something different than what I'm telling you. But I'm giving you the basics on buying a home and why it is so beneficial. Okay? One thing to keep in mind is that when you purchase a home, you are immediately accumulating equity. Immediately. Even if we have a downturn in the market. So yeah, if it's a downturn in the market and all of a sudden, value drops, you just hold on to it. You just keep paying your mortgage every month because what goes down goes back up, right? Cyclically speaking, we've had, hundreds of percentages of increases over the last 50 years in Sacramento. So I assure you, property will hold its value. Again, I'm not going to be held liable for this, but I've been doing this for 30 years, and real estate always appreciates. So let me give you some insights, and this is just one option that you can consider. The biggest expense in purchasing a home is going to be the down payment and the closing costs. Both of those are going to be around 3%. So a couple of ideas, if your lender says this will work for you, a couple of ideas we're going to cover that will cover that for you. So what you need, and if you don't have it now, then start so you can prepare for it, is you need to have a good credit score. If you have a good credit score, I can help you with the help of a lender get into a house for very, very little down. It doesn't have to be 20%, very little down if you have good credit. If you don't have good credit, you can begin to clean up your credit now. The best place to start is to talk to an agent or a realtor, an agent or a lender, and see where your credit score is. Or you could go and you could do your own credit score, and then you can see what you can clean up. You can clean a lot of things up in your credit score just because there's a misspelled name or old things that need to go taken off. So it takes a little bit of time. There are great credit repair companies that if you're in a hurry to buy, you could contact one of those, and they're not very expensive. But I also know from personal experience and in helping so many of my clients that you can clean up your credit on your own pretty well. Okay, so the first thing is you've got to have clean credit. The second thing is you've got to show income. Now, lenders like to see income that is consistent for the last 2 years. So if you just changed companies last month, probably not the right time for you to buy, but it's okay because after 2 years of working there, then you can buy, right? If you have a two household income, like you're married and your spouse has worked at their job for, at least 2 years, it can still possibly work. You have to talk to a lender in order to see where you're at. And a lot of it will have to do with your credit score and how much money you have in the bank if you have money, to spend on the house. So remember what I just said, 3 years is $90,000. I want you to think about that. Are you going to continue lining your landlord's pockets so that they have this beautiful source of equity and appreciation and financial security, right? After 5 years, how much more value is the house that you're renting, that they purchased, and now they not only have been having their mortgage payment covered by you, you're paying their mortgage coverage, but they're also probably have gained 50, 60, 100,000 in equity. I want you to really grasp that. You're paying the same amount. You're paying the same amount that you could or would if you purchased the home. But instead of investing in your future, your financial security, you're investing in your landlord's. Okay? So, how would we cover closing costs? How would we cover down payment? Well, let's say you look at a home that is $450,000. And your lender, based on your credit and your income, your lender says you could probably, you're qualified for 460. But you're looking at a property that's 450, but you're qualified for 460. Now, you have to talk to your realtor, because sometimes you can write an overpriced offer and it's great at first, and then you're like, okay, the down payment's covered and it's all happy and good. But if the house doesn't appraise at the 460, then you're back to square one. So you have to talk to your lender and your realtor, because I don't want to give advice that's like gonna, end up backfiring in my face. But sometimes you can use your actual your loan, writing it over, and in exchange, you ask the sellers to pay for your closing costs, or excuse me, your closing costs. So you're writing the offer, say, for 460, and they're happy, and then you ask them to pay $10,000 closing costs, and they're happy because they're getting $10,000 over. It's not unusual, and it hasn't been for years. It's been very common. I don't know, I'd say maybe 3 out of 10 deals, the buyers ask the seller to contribute to closing costs. So it's not that big of a deal. It's not like sellers don't love it. They're like, oh, let me just pay your closing costs. It's not like they're excited about it. But if the rest of your offer is super clean and it's solid, and you're not asking for a bunch of stuff. Like, I have a transaction right now where I'm representing the seller, and the buyers are asking for the nitpickiest little tiny itty bitty things, and things that it just doesn't even make sense to ask for, because they want the house to be perfect as if it was a new build. Well, if you're living in a house, and this particular house is 60 years old, if you're buying a house at 60 years old, it's not going to have brand new plumbing, brand new electrical, brand new flooring. Everything's not going to be brand new. You want everything, when you purchase your home, you want everything to be in working condition, and you have a home inspection that you make sure that everything's in working condition, right? So you're going to be covered in that way. But the good news is that if you're in Sacramento, I can connect you with the lender. If you're not in Sacramento, find a realtor who has a good relationship with the lender, who works on first-time home buyer programs. I think it's called the Cal FHA, first-time home buyer. If you have the credit and you have the income, all you have to do is have decent credit. That means you pay your bills, and you have a job for 2 years. If you fit both of those criteria, you can get a first-time home loan that covers most of your closing costs. I've sold homes where there was 0% down. I'm not promising that that's what will happen for you, but it's this thing that renters have, that they think, I can't buy a house until I have $50,000 in the bank, and it's just not true. You can buy a house with very little money down if you have credit and income. If you have those two factors, I can connect you with a lender who will look at it all and say, okay, I can get you this much where you're putting, this much down, and then we'll write an offer asking for the closing costs to be covered. And remember, when you do that, when you're asking the seller to please cover my closing costs, you're not going to be asking, oh, fix that window and do that and do that. I will tell you that when you're using one of these kinds of loans that's going to assist you as a first-time buyer, then you'll have an inspection, and you will have to pay for that. That's several $100s, so you'll have to pay for that. But that inspection will show you if there's any major issues. And if there are, and the sellers don't want to pay it, we just go look at another property. Now, with those kinds of loans, I will tell you also that the lender uses an appraiser who's FHA certified. And that means that appraiser is going to look for anything that is wrong with the property that will need to be fixed before they tell the lender, yes, it's safe to lend money on this home because this home is good collateral. Does that make sense? So between your home inspection and your appraisal, you'll know what the house looks like. You'll know what condition it's in. You'll know if there's anything that you're going to have to fix, like in 2 years or 5 years. You'll have a really good idea. So if you just are listening to what I'm saying, why do you want to line your landlord's pockets? Why do you want to pay for them? You're not just paying their mortgage, you're paying for their investment, right? You're paying their mortgage. They're going to write that mortgage check every month, and you're giving them money, and they're either breaking even or they're pocketing several $100s. And that's their source of income. Totally fine, totally legit. But you're also paying for their appreciation. Because if you're in a rental for 2 years, 5 years, that property has appreciated in that time span. And so you think you just paid $90,000 in 3 years, but if the house appreciated by 10, 20%, you also paid $50,000 more that the landlord now gets to enjoy. And I'm not against landlords, and I'm not against investors. I've worked with plenty of them over, the numerous years that I've worked in this industry. But what makes me sad is when people who can afford to buy a home, but they think they can't. So that's what I'm here to talk about. If you have had a job for 2 years, and if you have decent credit, then let's talk. Let's get you into a home. And remember, your first home is called a starter home. That means you get into what you can afford right now, and you live in it for a couple of years. And after a couple of years, we sell it, and then you use that money, the equity, to put your down payment on a better home. A lot of times buyers will be like, oh, the time's not right because I need 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths, and I really can't afford that right now. Buy a starter home. You're paying rent anyway. If you're paying rent anyway, you may as well own it and be getting appreciation, getting equity. And then you can buy your dream home, right? So that's the way to do it. And a lot of buyers these days are like, yeah, I'm just going to rent until I can really afford to buy nicely. Get a starter home. You will never regret buying real estate. It's your space. You can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to call a landlord. Yeah, there's going to be repairs and those kinds of things. But this is why we have the inspections. This is why we have home warranties. So if anything goes bad, they help pay for it. And I asked for the home warranty right in the offer. I asked for a several $100 home warranty that will assure that if the air conditioning, the plumbing, the electrical, if any appliances goes bad, you just have your little deductible, and then it's covered. Okay, so there's so many ways around it. Educate yourself. But I want to leave you, before I say adios for now, I want to leave you with the idea that it's your responsibility to maintain good credit. And I know I've had bad credit before. Trust me, I've had bad credit before. Medical bills. Clean it up now. It's never too late. And if you need help, if you need me to connect you with a credit repair company, let me know and I will. There's one in Sacramento, Blue Water Credit. They're so good and they're so reasonably priced. It's some of the things to repair your credit are so easy and simple and don't even cost you anything. But the best thing that you can do for your credit is to pay your bills on time. The best thing you can do for your income for acquiring a loan is just to make sure that you've worked at the same company or done the same thing for 2 years. Okay, because you're going to have to show the lender tax returns and pay stubs. So if you meet those 2 criteria of having decent credit and having a solid, steady income, I can help you find a house. Okay, and I don't work with a lot of buyers, but I see so many buyers, including my daughter who lives out of town, or I would help her too, but they're spending $2,600, $2,800 a month on rent, for Pete's sake. You can own a house for that. You can own a house for that. Okay, so if you need help buying or selling in the Sacramento area, use the link below, set up a time to talk, and let's get you earning income through appreciation and equity. Okay, have a good day. Thanks for watching.